Good morning. This is Will 789GB, and the storyteller's not here. I think he's in Bude or near Bude, and he will be back next week. That's the main point of this show, is to let you know that he will be here. And he's also got a show, or Widsith and Deer have got a show coming up on Saturday next week, as well as the storytelling evening on the Wednesday. So that's I'll have more information about that. But I'm going to play quite a bit of music as well. Maybe try and find some Widsith and Deer on YouTube to play as well. And then the Wild Show will start round about 10. And this is a dub version of Joss Stone Underworld.
Children of light, bringers of the dawn.
Can't be overstated.
probably play more Just Stone later on. I think the remixes have been around for a long time, but I've only just noticed them recently, so I'll find some of those later on. I've done as tweets, Will789GB, the copy for the evening Saturday next week, which I suspect is the main thing the storytellers... that's the main reason he's coming to Exeter, I think. So I'm just going to read all of this out. I've put it as tweets because I find the studio very complicated, and just having Facebook open as well would be too much for me, so I just stick to Twitter. But you can find this on Facebook if you go to Widsef, search on Widsef and Dior. Widsef. If one of them doesn't work, try the other one. Anyway, Godmother prefers living it up in Las Vegas. It doesn't. Find out how intrepid princesses and wily brides save the day on their marriage in this fabulous kaleidoscope of funny and feel-good tales for Valentine's Day. Well, Saturday night before Valentine's Day it is. The show includes free marriage guidance and love heart sweets. Families, couples, cynics, singles and those who've been together long enough to laugh at themselves, all catered for. Your evening is sure to end happily ever after. Tickets are £7, £6 concessions, £5 under 16s. To reserve a seat and book your ticket, please email cartwheels.collective@gmail.com with the subject Tickets for Lovestruck, saying how many tickets and what price band you require. The seat will then be reserved, and after that please bring cash. They're quite a classic company, aren't they? They deal in cash. I tried to buy some of the coffee in London with cash, and it didn't work at all. It didn't work. Anyway, cash will work at the Priory, the name of which I've forgotten at the moment. Anyway, stay tuned to this broadcast. I think it's near Morrison's, but I'll check that as we go along. Yeah, bring cash to pay on the door. Thank you. So I'll probably mention that again later on, but that's the main thing to mention, I guess. Hang on, I'm now going to play another track.
But then I broke your heart. I went too far. I'm still out here living wrong. The drugs were too strong, and then I broke your heart, my friend. I went too far. I'm still out here lying. But inside I'm dying. Then I broke your heart, my friend. I went too far. Yes, I never been so ready, so ready, so ready before. And then I broke your heart, my best friend. foolish. I went too far.
So ready before.
Girl, I never been
So ready before. So ready before.
But then I broke your heart so foolish. I went too far. No, I've never been. Again, I broke your heart so foolish. I went too far.
So ready before.
Didn't mean to do it, baby. No, no. Didn't mean to do it, baby.
So ready.
I went too far. Girl, I never been.
So ready. So ready before.
It's no one's fault but mine, baby. I went too far.
So ready before.
Come look into my mind. Can someone heal my soul? I'm losing all control. My love will never
Raphael Sadiq, and yeah, it is St Catherine's Priory with a K. I've tweeted a link, Will789GB, and I've also found My John Soul storytelling on YouTube, which was uploaded in 2011. Next week, the I think it's the storytelling evening on the Wednesday. It's the Carrot Barton. And this is coming up. Here it is.
An old woman. And she lived with an old man. And they'd been together practically forever. And, well, he wasn't a good man. You couldn't say he was a good man, because lots of the hard-earned money that she went out to earn, he used to spend on gambling, no less, and drinking, no less. And he used to bitch about everyone he knew, friends included, all behind their backs. And perhaps most materially and worst of all, he never set foot once inside a church. Well, so it came to the time when he got sick, really sick like unto death, the old woman thought this time. And she started to worry. Because, of course, even though they'd had their troubles and they'd had their problems, well, they had been together practically forever, and they were awfully fond of each other and very used to being together. And she thought that when he died, there was some considerable doubt as to where he was going, up or down. And she worried about this, and she wondered what to do about it. And at last, an idea struck her. So, as she was nursing him through what she thought was almost certainly going to be his very last illness, she had handy a little bag right next to the bed with a little piece of cord. Because, as you must be knowing, it is the last breath of the body in which the soul resides. And she was sitting by him, and she was watching and waiting, and she judged, just when she judged his last breath was, he was starting to breathe out real slow. She judged when the last one was going to be, and she whipped the little bag over his mouth. And it inflated with the last breath. And then she whipped out the little cord, and she wrapped it around the neck of the bag, and she pulled really tight. So it was inflated just there, this little light bag, with the old man's last breath, with the old man's soul. Well now, she thought, what am I going to do with it now? Well, she put it in a little basket, and she thought, well, I've got to go and find heaven now, haven't I? And so she went on a long journey, for a year and a day or more, and she encountered all kinds of strange people and adventures on the way, none of which come into this story, but each one would be a story in themselves. until at last, after so much toil and after all this time, she finally came within sight of the pearly gates themselves. And there they were, all glittering, studded with mother of pearl and all the rest of it. Rococo swirls. It was absolutely amazing. Dazzling light seemed to come out of them. And she saw the great bell pull and walked up the great steps. And she put down her little basket and she pulled on the great doorbell of the gates of heaven. And the gates opened. They swung open with a faint celestial music. There stood a figure all in shining shades of silver. And she said, "Oh, St. Peter, I'm so glad to see you. It's about my John's soul." And St. Peter said, "Woman, we know why it is that you have come here, but I'm afraid we cannot let your John's soul into the gates of heaven. He was not a good man. He gambled, he bitched about all his friends, and he never once entered a church. It's truly terrible. Be rest assured, woman, that when your time comes, you have a very fair chance of joining us up here. But your John, certainly not. I'm very sorry." The old woman was horrified, and she said, "Oh, St. Peter, I can't believe it. You would never be wanting anyone's mercy and compassion, not for denying the Christ, for instance." Oh, St. Peter, he was so horrified, you should have seen his face. Oh, it was terrible. And the gates of heaven clanged shut in the old woman's face. Well, she sat down on the step. She'd come such a long way. She was so tired. She was not going to be defeated at the first hurdle. She was not going to give up now. She waited a little while, and then a second time, she ran on the great bell pull that rang the bells for the gates of heaven. And a second time, they opened wide, and she heard a strange celestial music, slightly louder this time. And there was a figure, as the gates opened, revealed all in shining shades of gold. And she said, "Oh, St. Paul, I recognise you from all the paintings and stuff. St. Paul, it's about my John's soul." But St. Paul, he looked stern. He said, "Woman, what do you mean by coming up here and pestering us about your John's soul? He was a very bad man, and of course we're not going to let him up here. Now be off with you, and be grateful that you're probably coming up here when your time comes. Now be off." And she was horrified. She said, St. Paul, I would have expected better from you. I suppose you've never changed your mind about anything, never had a road to Damascus." Oh, St. Paul, he was horrified. You should have heard him. And clang, bam, the gates of heaven shut in the old woman's face for a second time. Well, by now, she was feeling fairly worn out after a long journey and all. She sat down on the step. She gathered her strength and she got her breath back and she thought, "No, I haven't come all this way and done all this. No, not to take no for an answer. I'm going to try again." And so the third time, she grasped courageously the great bell pull of heaven and she ran and ran and ran. And again, the third time, the great gates opened and a celestial music, sweeter this time, came out. And there was a figure all in shining robes of blue, peacock, sapphire, duckhead blue. Oh, beautiful to behold. And she said, "Oh, Holy Mary, Mother of God, I'm so glad it's you. It's about my John's soul." And the Virgin Mary, she answered, "Oh, my dear, if it was just up to me, I'd do my best for you, but I'll never get it past the lads. I mean, you've seen what they're like, And she said, trying to be comforting, she said, "Well, he was a very bad man, he wasn't. He was quite naughty on the whole, really." But the old woman, she was horrified. She said, "Oh, Holy Mary, Mother of God, I suppose you've never been needing anyone's mercy and compassion. You've never been having a baby and no father." You should have seen the Virgin Mary's face. She practically went purple. And clang went the gates of heaven shut again in the old woman's face. Well, now she sat really exhausted, quite out of her wits on the doorstep of the great pearly gate. And she thought, "I haven't come all this way. I'm not going to give up. No, damn it, I'm not." And she waited a bit longer this time just to really get her courage up. And then she gave a sidelong glance at this great bloody great bell pull, and she got up and she rang it for the fourth time. time of asking, and this time the gates came open with amazing music, like the sound of 1,000 angels' choirs. And there was a figure all in shining robes of white, snow, ivory, diamond, all the rest of it. Was quite amazing. And she said, "Oh, Jesus Christ our Lord." And she went down on one knee. And she said, "Jesus Christ our Lord, it's about my John's soul." And the Christ our Lord, he answered, "My dear woman, if only I could help you. But no one comes to the Father except through me. Believe me, I would help you if I could. I feel mercy and compassion." And with that, the great gates, the pearly gates, started to close. But the old woman, well, she was already on one knee. And she thought, I haven't come all this way and been to all this trouble for nothing. And she plunged her hand down into the basket and she picked out the little bag with her John's soul, and like a champion shot putter, she threw the little bag through the air, putting all her weight and might and main behind it. And the little bag, it skimmed through the gates of heaven and just over the shoulder of the Christ, Jesus Christ our Lord, just touching his hair. And then, clang, the great gates of heaven, the pearly gates, closed. And the old woman picked up her basket and she started on a long journey home, looking forward to being reunited with her, John's soul.
The things that I used to do, Lord, I won't do no more. The things that I used to do, Lord, I won't do no more. Would always end in vain. I would search all night for you, baby. Lord, and my search would always end in vain. But I knew all along, darling, that you was hid out with your other man. Your mother, baby. Lord, and I'm going back to my family too. I'm going to send you back to your mother, baby. Lord, and I'm going back to my family too. Nothing I'll do that please you, baby. Lord, I just can't get along with you.
Guitar Slim, from the playout system. I'll try and stay with the playout system a bit, which is what you would have got. If we'll try over the summer to get in. Normally I'll just do the first half hour of the Wild Show, but when the storyteller's away, I won't be here at 8 o'clock, but I'll try and be here and work with the playout system to some extent. So you won't be quite sure what you're going to be listening to if you tune in to Phonic FM on a Thursday morning at about 8 o'clock, between 8 o'clock and 10 o'clock. But well, you can always find this Widsith and Dio on YouTube. That's one way around it. We'll see how it goes along. I'm going to talk to. Well, the storyteller will be here next week, so that's one of the things we'll discuss. Is what he thinks is going to happen over the summertime. Some of the time there'll be an extra, I guess. Respect Festival and the street arts and other things, I imagine. But we'll find out next week what's going on. I have found Cali Cooler Dub remix of Sensimilia, Just Stone. There's a very short video has appeared saying that there is a sort of official remix album CD, which doesn't exist as a CD as far as I can find out. I think it's streaming somewhere, but there seem to be lots of remixes on YouTube that have happened anyway over quite a long time. That's all I know about this one. Well, as it's, I always thought it was Sensimilia, but it's Sensimilla here. Calicula Dub remix.
Are you sitting comfortably? If you'd like to grow your own Sensimilia, this is what you do. won't put you on the shelf with a sentence that why for the healing of the nation. There's just no good explanation for this pitiful objection. What kind of reflection does that have on the intelligence of man? I fail to
This is Phonic FM.
Was the Gorillas, and I'm Will 789GB. This is Phonic FM, 106.8 in Exeter and on the interweb, and this is supposedly the drama hour storytelling, but the storyteller's not here. He's in Bude for the winter, I think, but the summer is coming, and he will be here next week. He's really here for the storytelling evening on the Wednesday, but also for Love Struck, a performance with Widsith and Deal at St Catherine's Priory on Saturday. Not this Saturday, the 8th, next week. But he will be in this studio. I've got to make sure he can get in. We had some confusion previously, but. I'm pretty sure it's all going to work out fine, and he will be here next week. So Thursday between 8 o'clock and 10 o'clock. And I've found another one on YouTube that I've done some videos of Widsith and Deal, and they've done a lot themselves. So that if you find just the playout system, the playout system's very good. The Gorillas came off the playout system, but you can also go to YouTube and other places. I think radio has to accept it's part of a mix of ways in which time and place are mixed up. This is just titled, I'm not quite sure what this one's about, it's just titled Story Club July 2nd, and it was uploaded in 2011.
Story. This is the story of the fight with Glam, the ghost. Grettir travelled north, he the man who men said fate had never mastered. He travelled north to the lands of Erik Erikson, his distant cousin. And it was strange as he travelled in those lands. For although the lands should be wealthy, they were badly managed. They were not ploughed, trees and weeds grew everywhere. So he came before his cousin, Erik, and said, "Why? What is happening?" And Erik said, "There's ruination here. Things go badly. It started to the west, in the lands of Thorkson. My cousin, a creature, it were. Some disturbed barrow perhaps, a white, or from the other side of paradise, the dark it comes. In the dark of the moon, it devours animals, the beasts of men, and then as the moon returns, it comes back as some shadowy form, and it smashes the bones of those creatures, of the men whose creatures it has eaten. And so none dare keep a horse, none dare keep cattle or sheep, and we all go hungry. If I was you, I would ride away. I would ride away as quick as you could on that fine white horse of yours." And Grettir stayed and looked at the fire. He looked at the fire long, and then he turned to Erik and said, "We have not seen each other for many a year. You do not know that I once did a favour of a hag of the marsh, who gave me a certain power, a boon if you like, over the creatures of moonlight." And Erik said, "What? You have a power over them? Then you must help us." "Oh, there is hope in my heart. There is hope as I thought there would never be again. You will help us as you are a hero?" And Grettir said, "Maybe. But I was also told there was a bane on this boon. That if ever I used it, I could use it but once. And then my fate would be known. Known to all. My destiny called. So I don't know what to do." And Erik looked at the fire now long, and he said, "Well, it seems to me that the true part of a hero is not to flee his fate until his fate catches him up. Oh no, it is rather to choose it." And Grettir nodded. And he went then to the blacksmith of Erik, and he took from his necklace a great silver charm that men had said was given to him by the Emperor of Byzantine himself. And he had the charm made into a silver horseshoe, and he put it on the front left foot of his horse. and he rode west to the land of Thorkson. And Thorkson came out as Grettir rode into his farm and said, "What are you doing here? You ride on. You don't want to come here with this horse. It's ruination to come here. You will be killed. Tomorrow is the dark of the moon. Ride on." And Grettir said, "I'm not going. I'm not going while Glam lives." And Thorkson was delighted. He made a great feast, and Grettir very carefully staked his horse behind the fire, and all the men huddled round the fire, and they ate and they drank, and in the night nothing happened. It was still, and they waited until dawn, and at dawn the horse neighed, and they knew they were safe. And Thorkson said, "This is all perhaps we needed to do. Perhaps we just needed a brave man to show us the way. Perhaps the wight will not come again." But Grettir said nothing. The next day, they had another great big feast all night, and again the horse was staked behind them, and again the dawn came, and again it neighed, and that was the dark of the moon. And so Thorkson said, "It must be all right now." And Grettir said, "We shall see." And for a third night, they staked the horse behind them. The third night, you cannot see the moon. And the dawn came, and while they were feasting, and Thorkson said, "It must be fine." Grettir said, "The horse has not neighed." And they turned behind him, and where the horse had been, there was just smashed blooded bones. And all that was left of it, apart from the bony mess, intact, was Grettir's cloak that he put on it as it were a blanket. And he picked it up, and they saw it was covered in horse blood. And then suddenly he pointed down to the ground, and he picked up that left hoof, the one with the silver horse ring on it, and he held it up, and he smiled, and he said, "You are a good horse." And he held it, and they all saw it had black blood on it, the blood of the white. And he said, "I have now what I need." The next night, he bade them all go to bed in the great long house, and he took the bed nearest the door. And he turned to Thorkson and said, "You and I are going to sit up tonight. Take this charm." And he gave him the silver horseshoe. And he said, "If the creature comes, if Glam comes, hold up the horseshoe as if your redemption hangs upon it, and do not let it down, or we are all damned." And Thorkson agreed. And so they were waiting as the night wore on, and the moon gradually came up, and a silver light stretched across the land, grew brighter, grew far too bright, brighter than the brightest full moon. And through that they heard a whoosh of the wind, and suddenly the door blew open, and something was there in the threshold. Grettir would never describe it, save that it was as tall as a silver birch, and the same colour under moonlight, and it seemed to have stars for eyes, and something reached out, a great branch-like hand, with fingers as long as bare branches, and as sharp as stakes, reached out for the nearest man, reached out for Grettir, and Grettir nodded to Thorkson, and Thorkson held up the charm, and Grettir, just at that moment, moved sideways. He wrapped the cloak, the one that was stained with the horse's blood, around the hand as it came in, and he used it to drag the creature in through the threshold, and all men saw it, a pale shadow of silver fear. And in fear, Thorkson put down the charm, and the moonlight seemed to turn brighter, and seemed to dazzle men, and the creature shook off Grettir, and moved towards him, picking him up, opening its mouth, and Grettir said, "Hold out the charm as your redemption, last hands on it." And Thorkson held up the charm, and Grettir shook himself free. More than that, he wrapped the cloak of the horse's blood around and around and around and around the neck of the creature, and he started to choke at its life. And it spluttered and went down on his knees, and in delight, Thorkson said, "You've done it! You've done it!" Put his hand down, and the moon became all intenser, all the brighter, and the creature shook off Grettir and went to hit him. And Grettir turned to Thorkson and said, "Raise the charm, you fool, as your redemption done it! And a third time, Thorkson raised the charm, and the creature stepped back. The moonlight became less bright, but it was more cunning this time. It did not let Gretier get too close, so he put round the cloak around his great arm, knotting his great arm, and started to pull the arm, pulling it out of its socket. Then, with a thud, and the creature fell to the ground. When Gretier was on it, he took out his great sword to cut off his head. And seeing that, Thorkson said, "You've done it!" and raised his arms in triumph and put down the charm. Just as Gretier lifted up the head to cut the throat of the creature, and the moonlight became bright. Not bright enough to save its life, but bright enough. It looked then Gretier full in the face and said, "Gretier, my death you have wrought, but my father the moon will not forget you or forgive. This I lay on you, this your destiny, that you will ever be scared of moonlight, and that you will flee into the arms of your friends or your foes." And so it proved, because from that day Gretier, strong man as he was, could not bear the light of the moon. And soon that was known to his great pity of his friends, and soon that was known by his many enemies. And so in after days he was slain.
That's Garden of Love, Don Drummond and the Scuttlebutt from the Play Out system. I wanted to say a rom-com. I didn't really realise which Symphony I did well, perhaps it isn't a rom-com as such, but anyway, I was thinking about that because what I thought I would talk to the stand-up philosopher about, that's another guy's. If you on Twitter, stand-up thought would be something philosophical about what a university is, with the background, the setting of a ruin, a fortress university. Sometime in the future, it's a sort of science fiction about the future. The reason for this is that I don't think the universities are putting all their energy or all their resource into online platforms at the moment. So FutureLearn doesn't get the sort of backing it might do. I know I'm going a little bit off where the drama hour has been in the past, but if you listen to the Wild Show coming up, we've recently been to Bet, and we'll discuss that later on. So there's a sort of reality behind this. Just to sort of dwell on the reality for a little bit. Peter Horrocks, a lecturer at Durham a couple of years ago now, about the Fortress University, talking about how it could be a lot more. Universities could be a lot more open if they were online, and various advantages of that. But the policy of investing in FutureLearn was criticised inside the Open University, and he did resign. So the ideas in that lecture, I think, were rejected at the time anyway. But maybe they will be returned to. So FutureLearn is now half owned by a job site, Seek, based in Australia, which I just find surprising. I think there might have been other UK universities who would have invested, but we don't know what's going on. It may still turn out to be just a way of burning up money. But on the other hand, maybe platforms have got a viable future. Certainly Bet seemed a very solid event, and there were quite a lot of universities there, and FutureLearn was there as well on quite a small stand. I think they were just looking for other people to work with. I don't think they're promoting the idea anymore, which maybe means they're confident it's got a dynamic to it. Anyway, I thought, well, why be quite as gloomy as the Fortress University all in ruins? Maybe some sort of architecture is still valid. Just sort of looking for proportion or options. I think drama or fiction can do that. I shall talk about this next week and see what the stand-up philosopher would make of it, or how this would work as storytelling. Because I do think there's too much money being spent on student accommodation. That just does seem to be the case. Going back to reality, we'll talk about this on the Wild Show as well. But it just seems out of proportion, and leaving that aside, if you imagine some sort of blend, because nobody's really saying all education will move online, and there's no need for schools or universities. Just forget about it. People are talking about some form of blended learning, and so taking the St Luke's campus, just because it's closest to where I live, and thinking about the cafe in Waitrose, could be any sort of cafe, as another sort of study venue maybe, and the student accommodation, which is going to be all around it. I think the ambulance is going to go. Which, by the way, I mean, I'm sure they can get an ambulance to Heavitree from wherever it's going to be from, but it's quite a good idea to have ambulances somewhere. But anyway, student accommodation is all being built, so maybe in the future there's some sort of combination of distance and actual courses learning, which would involve lots of people moving about. So they'd only be in Exeter or on some other campus 2 weeks in every 3 months, or every other weekend, or some sort of variation on online and reality. So I think maybe this will work, because the reality of the storyteller is being very, very mobile. They might be in Exeter in some sort of sense, or they may be imbued for the winter. And obviously Love Struck, I don't know what Love Struck's going to be about. It's on the 8th, St Catherine's Priory. But I'm sure we'll learn next week. We will be told what that's about. But it might involve it's a whole series of relationships of people who only meet occasionally in real space, but spend a lot of time online. I don't know quite how it would work, but that would just be an alternative future for where the Fortress University is going to go. I think, by the way, just back to reality, I think the St Luke's is slightly going in a fortress direction, because there is a turnstile on the library now. You can go to the library on the other campus, but I think that one is sort of shut off to casual passers-by. Anyway, next week I shall start raving about all this sort of thing to the stand-up philosopher, and it will be transformed into fiction, which is what this show is all about. This next track is perhaps from the Semitones.
You love me, and so how am I ever to know? You always tell me, perhaps, perhaps, perhaps. A million times I've asked you, and then I ask you over again. You only answer, perhaps, perhaps, perhaps. You can make your mind up, we'll never get started. And I don't wanna wind up being parted, broken hearted. Perhaps, perhaps, perhaps. You can make your mind up, we'll never get started. And I don't wanna wind up being parted, broken hearted. So if you really love me, say yes. But if you don't, dear, confess. And please don't tell me, perhaps, perhaps, perhaps. Perhaps, 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 perhaps.
106.8 FM.
When I was just a little girl, I asked my mother, what will I be? Will I be pretty? Will I be rich? Here's what she said to me. Que sera, sera. Whatever will be, will be. The future's not ours to see. Sarah, Sarah. Que Sarah, Sarah. Whatever will be, will be. The future's not ours to see. Que Sarah, Sarah. Now I have children of my own. They ask the mother, what will I be? Will I be handsome? Will I be rich? I told them tenderly, hey Sarah, Sarah, whatever will be, will be. The future's not ours to see. Hey Sarah, Sarah, hey Sarah, Sarah, whatever will be, will be. The future's not ours to see. Hey Sarah, Sarah.
That's Judy Butcher with Que Sera Sera. Doris Day, best known for that. And I'm going to try and find. Sorry. YouTube has a mind of its own. That's the problem. One of the problems. I'll try and find the version online of perhaps, because the Vivo video samples Doris Day with the Simmertones. By the way, the Simmertones are going to be in Exeter on the 1st of February, Saturday, with the Embezzlers and the Mighty Offbeats. I'm not sure if there's still tickets. If there are tickets, they might go. If you want to be there, I think you should go get a ticket quickly. But we'll try and find out during the Wild Show how many there are left. So while I'm trying to find that on YouTube, we're going to go back to the Just Stone dub CD.
Phonic FM.
So, how am I ever to know? You always tell me, perhaps, perhaps, perhaps.
A million times I've asked you, and then I ask you over again. You only answer, perhaps, perhaps, perhaps. If you can make your mind up, we'll never get started. And I don't wanna wind up being parted, broken hearted.
So if you really love me, say yes. But if you don't, dear,
Confess, and please don't tell me. Perhaps, perhaps, perhaps.